One, two, three, four. Dum doo dum doo da da. Dum doo dum doo da da. Dum doo dum doo da da. Yeah. Can we pretend that from now on there is no yesterday? Yeah.
Well, good day and welcome to another edition of the Straight Up program right here on Straight Up TV with myself, Grantley. It's good to have your company. My guest on today's show I have spoken to, but it was a long time ago. And he's just released a new album, and we shall get into that. But let me just give you the introduction. And I was so excited to do just that. So my guest was born in Jamaica, and you might be thinking he's one of these roughy tufty yard kind of. No, it's not really. He's a nice gentleman, and he was born in Jamaica. And at the age of 8 months old, he came to the UK. His father taught him how to play guitar by the time he was 9 years old. He spent a period of time learning classical guitar. Now, you can always tell the quality of my guests by the people that they have worked with. And this one, there is no exceptions. Look, let me give you the list here. And it's a long one, so pin back your ears. I'm not going to go through every single one because we will be here all day long. But listen to this. My guest has worked with the likes of Misha Paris, Glenn Morgan, Melissa Morgan, Melba Moore, Shirley Jones, Jean Khan, oh my gosh, Yolanda Brown, Omar, Tony Monreal. The list is huge. But like I said, you can always tell the quality of my guests by the people that they have worked with. So please welcome to the Straight Up program my guest on today's program, the one and only Kyle Brown. Hello, sir. You all right?
Hi, Grantley. Hi. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed of God. So listen,
Me
before we
too.
get started, I've been
Yeah.
I've got this little tickly cough. Okay, I've got this little tickly cough, and sometimes it kind of bothers me a little bit. So if you hear me kind of getting ready to gasp a little bit, that's all it is. Okay, so
Yeah,
don't
cool.
pay too much attention to that.
No
Anyways,
problem.
so first of all, born in Jamaica, but there's no Jamaican accent there. I take it you. I take it when you're ready. You can mix it up with the best of them, right?
Well, the thing is, I feel Jamaican first. I'm Jamaican and British, and whenever I think about being a Jamaican, I think of really polite, respectful, really just awesome people. Very forthright and very interesting. So I take pride in being a Jamaican and also being British too. So yeah, I can switch from the two things within seconds.
Within seconds, when it's called for. When it's called for.
Yeah,
So
whenever.
listen,
Yes, I go into the vernacular when I need to. Yeah.
I gotcha. All right, so I love the country of Jamaica. I love it very much. My parents are from there as well, so I can relate to what you're saying, and I can mix it up with the best of them as well when I'm ready. You've
Yeah, of
recorded
course.
7 albums to date, okay, and just like everybody else you heard, and obviously have experienced the amount of people that you've worked with over the years. You don't get to work with this caliber of people by not being at the top of your game. Um, we go back a way, don't we? We do. I
Yes,
remember
indeed,
you
we do.
recording
Yeah.
an album called Borderline, and it was at that point that I first came into contact with you. And to this day, I'm still giving God thanks because our relationship does go back that far. And we've had many a conversation about lots of different subjects, one of them being the actual music business that we're involved in. And I do want to touch on that during the course of this interview today, because what you've got to say and what you've said in the past has always intrigued me, has always inspired me. And as we talk about being inspired, who would you say over the years that you've been involved in the business, who has inspired you the most when it comes to your craft? You're a jazz guitarist, vocalist. Who's inspired you the most?
Well, the first person was my father, because that's the first time I ever saw a guitar, the first time I ever saw someone play a guitar. So it was my father, and that started from a very, very, very early age. I have recollection of from when I was 3, seeing my father sing and play to us. It was amazing. And by the time I was 9, I got my first real proper guitar, and the rest is history, as they say. But my father said to me that he could see that out of all the children, I was the one that was I took a keen interest in the guitar. So I played classically for a couple of years. It wasn't a very long time, but a couple of years. Studied some pieces, etc. And then I kind of found my own way by, in fact, my classical teacher at the time was an inspiration to me. And then I started to listen to other guitarists. Ernest Ranglin, Jamaica's very own, one of the world's greatest. Ernest Ranglin really influenced me. And then I started to hear about Jimi Hendrix, George Benson, Wes Montgomery. Those guys have been a major, major influence on me. Joe Pass, etc. And so I took it from there. And a range of local guitarists and guitarists that are on the scene now. You look at other people and you're influenced by what other people do, and I'm told that I influence other people too. So it sort of goes around. So I've had a number of influences over many years, and it's continued to this day. But George Benson is a massive influence on me.
Most definitely, and you can hear that in your music. So your latest offering is an album that you put out, and it's called "Can We Pretend?" Can we
Yeah,
pretend? It's a mixture of cover versions, some well-known covers that you've
yeah,
expertly put your own spin on. One of them I shall get into a little bit later, but tell us about some of the covers that you've got on this album called "Can We Pretend?" Why
right.
did you choose those tracks? Give us the titles and then
Yeah.
break down each one for us.
No problem. There are 11 tracks on the album. There are 4 that are my own, and I've done some remakes, as you know. And the mantra for the album is vocal excursions with a tinge of guitar. And I'm kind of, I guess what I'm doing, I'm playfully teasing people in a sense. I'm saying, look, it's more vocals. You'll get a little bit of guitar and stuff. And on the gigs, they actually get more than a little bit of guitar. They get more than a tinge. But the idea behind the project was to actually go exactly on that, a vocal excursion. And I wanted to test my voice. I wanted to see where I could take my voice. And there were so many amazing songs out there. So it's only a paper moon. That's a great song, and I just felt that I could do something a little bit different with it. And the way that my mind works is that I'm actually very mischievous in my thinking. I'm always trying different things, turning things inside out, upside down. And that tune, I actually really, I love Nat King Cole's version of that tune. And there's many other great versions, but there was just something about it that drew me to that tune. And that's a tune that's written by Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg, sorry, and Billy Rose. Great song. So I put a groove under it. Yeah. There's Lush Life, which is a Billy Strayhorn jazz standard. And it's called the Giant Steps of Ballads, and that's a very, very, very difficult tune to do. And I was asked to sing that in a jazz play called Cafe Society Swing, which went on for about 5 or 6 years, and that's where I learned to sing that song. And I decided again that I'd mess with the time signatures a little bit, and the bar lengths, and I wanted to do an out and out jazz track, but I put a bit of a groove underneath it. And then we've got, of course, "Can We Pretend," which is a tune that's written by Denise Nicholas, although it's sung by Bill Withers, and it's almost one of the songs that Bill Withers has done that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. They know about "Lovely Day" and stuff, and some people talk about "Grandma's Hands." Yeah,
Yeah.
but "Can We Pretend" it always hit me from the first time I heard that when I was a student at university. It just hit me. it was the mood of the music, the guitar playing of Jose Feliciano, one of the greatest guitarists that's ever lived, and the way Bill sung it, and the lyrics, paint a portrait of tomorrow with no colors from today. Those things, I'm drawn to that kind of sensibility.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it,
yeah.
and it makes you think,
I love
So
it.
I had to do that, and I applied strings to it as well. There is I Will, which is a Lennon McCartney tune. The first time I heard that tune was John Holt's version, the great John Holt, and his version is amazing. So what I mischievously did is that I kept the bass line, so you've got the reggae bass line, but the rest of it is all soulful grooves, even bordering on a bit of neo soul. And again, that was deliberate. Yeah. There's the track Again, which again
Love
I
it.
knew from John Holt's version, and that was written by Lionel Newman, Dorcas, etc. And great song. Again, what I did, excuse the pun, I kept the bass line, and the rest of it was just grooves. But I released a groove version, then released a reggae version, so
Yeah.
that people had some options. And I did that deliberately on purpose without actually informing people. So that was good. I Want to Make It With You by Brett, David Gates. I had to do that tune. It's a song that I remember when I was a kid. And I can honestly tell you, at the album launch that we did, I was actually told by a gentleman that came up and congratulated us on the gig that some people were crying when we sang that song, and they were saying that not only did we perform it beautifully, but it brought back memories of their childhood, and it was really nice to actually have someone from the audience come up and express that kind of emotion to me. And the last one of the covers is "Swanderful," which is a George and Ira Gershwin tune. It's generally done in a Brazilian style. And what I've done is I've included the live version that was recorded live at the Hideaway. That and a track called So Tender, which is my own track. But the idea behind it was to put two live tracks on there so that aesthetically it gave the punters and the customers something a bit extra.
Very, very nice indeed. So the album is called Can We Pretend? And so the
Yeah.
balance of the tracks are penned by yourself?
Yes, indeed they are. Yeah. And so I actually redid Borderline. Now I have an album called Borderline. That's how you and I met, and that track was always very very popular, and I had it in me to redo it live because this album has been recorded live. We went in and played it live, and so I just had to do that again. It's a song that means a lot to me, and people really really like that song. And of course, we've got a track called Eyes That Glow, which is that's an original too, and that's more in the jazz and groove kind of feel. There's a Jazzy Mood for Love, which I first released as a jazz reggae record in as far back as 1987. It's just amazing how the years
87.
just raced by. Yeah, it was a single and
Wow.
it did really, really well. Yeah, and I've got a track called So Tender, which is the very last track on the album, which is live, and they all go down well. So when I was building the concept before we recorded the album, I included those tracks because I wanted to see how they would come across live, and the reaction was just automatic. Yeah,
So this album took a period of time to put together
yeah.
during lockdown and a little bit before that, right?
That's right, indeed. Yes, yeah, yeah. It was 4 years in the making.
4 years.
Lockdown came along, and we just took our time. I used that profitably, and I got even more geeky with the mixes and how things are positioned, panning, etc. And honestly, I've had top class engineers. Commend my engineer, who's also my co-producer, Simone Filiali, for the
Yeah,
mixes, and we were in there together, on the mix, and he did a great job.
he certainly did. I love the album, all 11 tracks. I just love it. I just love it. I love what you did with Sir John Holtz again, where you talked about, leaving certain bits out and certain bits in. And I thought it was genius the way you did the reggae version. Very clever there. And yeah, just love the whole album, to be quite honest with you. And I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to playing one or two tracks during the course or just after the interview. I shall get into that. Now,
Thank you.
let's get down to some of the people that you've actually worked with, because I'm fascinated how you've managed to. The list is long. It's very long. I've never come across an artist that I've interviewed that's got such a high list. I mean, you've worked with the I Trees, so that's Marcia Griffiths and Judy Mowat and all them guys. You know, the singers that used to back the late Robert Nesta Marley. You've worked with
Yeah.
Melba Moores. Melba Moores is one of my favourite singers.
Yep.
What
Same
was
here.
it like working with someone like Jean Khan? Because, I mean,
Oh
you know,
my
Jean
gosh.
Khan is legendary. What was that like?
You know, I said to her, I jokingly said to her, I want to propose to you. She burst out laughing. You
She said, join the queue. She
know?
must have
Yeah, yeah,
said,
something like that.
join the queue, mate.
She is a wonderful, you know, when you meet someone who is so gifted in what they do, in whatever field, and they have such great humility, it's just the most awesome thing. And I first met her when I did my Urban Atmosphere album, which was my second album, and I actually supported her. It's something I keep forgetting actually, but it was amazing. We actually supported Jean Khan, and I was working with Ronnie Laws at the time as well. And
Did you say Ronnie
what had
Laws?
happened?
Ronnie
Yes, I
Laws.
actually
Oh
did.
my God.
Yeah, the Ronnie Laws. In fact, what it was, I just recall actually, I think we were supporting
Oh,
Ronnie Laws, right? But Jean Khan was actually on the same show. So we were all playing together on stage, and it was
yeah.
absolutely amazing. So I've been an MD for Ronnie Laws, and it's amazing when he calls me from America, and I'm thinking, that's Ronnie Laws. I still can't get used to it, and he's calling me. And I used to buy all his records and still listen to his stuff when I was at university. I still listen to his stuff, but it's an amazing. Well, the short answer to your question, it's surreal and it's amazing.
I've got to say this, right? I have got to say this, that over the years, I've been a bit of an all rounder. I've always been an all rounder, and in the case of my musical taste, I think it stems from the days of when my late father used to come in on a Friday evening, and he'd always have a stack of music. You know, especially come payday, his first point of call would be to the local record store, and he'd always come in with a stack of different genres of music, and I think that's where I get my versatility from. But for you, I mean, I would have to say it must have been something similar, right? Because your range isn't just jazz, is it? It's not
No.
just like your standard jazz.
Well, the thing is, I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. Being independent means that I can do what I like.
Ah,
I think about the market, I think about what's out there, and because I gig so regularly, I get the opportunity to test things on the audience, and I know what works and what doesn't work, and whatever's not working, it just needs to be developed. And I've been doing that
yes,
for years. So I've
yes,
always been out on a limb, always out on a limb. But my father, you know, when they came back, I'm sure it's the same with your parents. When they came from the West Indies, they came with a pile of records. There was Caribbean stuff, Cuban stuff, Brazilian stuff. You had the American stuff as well. And then, of course, when they came here, we got into the English pop stuff. So I had everything, jazz, blues, you name it, R&B, rhythm blues, had everything in there. And then, of course, you had the blue beat and ska. Then, yes, yeah, ska, blue beat and ska. And then you had the rock steady, and then the
yes.
early reggae, and then as it developed, and we had everything. We had Celtic music as well. You know, because my father mixed with so many different nationalities, to include a lot of Irish people as well. And where he comes from in St Elizabeth, there's lots of Irish there historically that actually settled there. That provided me with a lot of things to do. It kept my ears very busy, and I was always in his gram. You know what
I remember the blue spot, Graham,
the blue
with the
spot
drinks
brother.
cabinet in the middle. Yeah,
That's right, absolutely, and the mesh. You know, the
yeah,
mesh on the front.
most definitely. So we talked about the industry over the years, you know, and one of the things that I admire about you is that you keep your finger on the pulse when it comes to the industry. One of the things that you've opted to do is to opt out of the streaming platforms. Tell
Yeah.
us the reasoning behind that, and you know, and the benefits that you can see for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. The first thing I would say is that I remember my mum saying things like, we learn so much from what our parents tell us. And she used to say, you can't grow without actually having experiences. So we always have to have experiences in life. And so one of the experiences I had was to put all my music on the digital domains right across the board. And then it wasn't that long before I realized that those platforms, sadly, are not very kind to musicians in terms of payment, remuneration for all the hard work and the sweat, blood, tears, and frustrations that we encounter and endure making music to keep people happy. And the music industry is such a very important part of life. It makes people, it promotes happiness. It does. There's research on it, produces vibrations and waves that actually can really affect people in a really, really good way. And also it brings in a lot of income for the economy. So I just felt after a while, I thought, right, okay, I want my own thing. So I arranged for my website to be built. And the mastermind behind that is Tex Johnson. And we built it with the customer in mind. So we have a subscription service where it's free and people get a free download, an exclusive download. And I can speak directly to my customers or people who they're there because they want to be there. And so I took everything down. You can only get my music from my website, which is www.ciyobrown.com. That's CIYO brown.com. And I do a mail order service with the physical CDs. And if people want copies of that, it's ciyobrown@gmail.com. And I did it for this reason: independence. I feel independent, and I'm not in this to be a superstar or a millionaire or whatever. I'm a millionaire in happiness, trust me. And my cup is always half full. But I wanted that independence.
And you know, you've explained yourself quite eloquently there. I'm in full agreement of what you're saying, because I I totally understand what it takes to put an album together, especially when you're working at the level that you're working at. When you consider that you have to pay for mixing and mastering, and all the studio time that you would require in order to put together a quality product, backing vocals, laying down of different types of tracks, and then you've got to work with people's time frames. In some cases, you may have to jump on a plane and travel. Although in this day and age, technology kind of cuts corners for you as well. But in any case, to put together a quality album, it's going to take a lot of money, and so
Yes,
to do all of that, and then to be told that even if your music is streamed like maybe 1 million times, which you're going to have to be a big name artist. Um, your name might begin with your first name might be Ed. Ed. And in that case, then you might do all right. But even if your music was to be streamed like 1 million, 500,000 times, you wouldn't get a lot of money, would you?
no, no, no. And the thing is that there are many anecdotes and stories that musicians, we share with each other, and it's actually it's humiliating. A lot of musicians feel, you know, um, just embarrassed by it. It's deflating, and it's just not a great place to be in. And I understand what that's like because I've looked at statements, when my music was on platforms, and I thought, how
Yeah.
much harder am I expected to work to bring in a decent income from that? So I also say to people, in fact, I always say to musicians, don't be afraid to hold on a little part-time job because this business is hard.
No,
Yeah,
as you
and
as you
also
as you mentioned that, okay, because like most musicians would be prone to be thinking along the lines of going full time. That's not your thinking, is it?
No, because my father, when I was 15, 16, and I treasure this moment, he called me one time. He said, and I always knew that when he had something serious to say, there was a certain tone he had in his voice. I thought, right, okay. And then he said to me, do not do music full time. He said, don't give it up because it's something that you may have to fall back on, but do not do it full time. And so I had the impression, the support that we got was to make sure that we made something of ourselves career-wise, and I pursued the whole education, the academia thing, and I was involved in law for quite a while and lecturing and
Right.
doing quality assessments and stuff. So the music has always been part-time, and I'm so grateful that my father sowed that in my mind because the business is risky, is very, very, very risky, and quite often musicians get disillusioned, depressed in some situations, give up completely, and I just think. I think it's important to have something else anyway, but even within music itself, it's important to think of the different income streams from which you can earn so that you're actually covering yourself.
Yeah. So your advice would be to have another, way of making money as well. Don't just rely on being a musician full time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's horses for courses because some people, obviously, a lot of people do it full time. And if you've got the machinery behind you, then that's different. If you've got people working on things that you don't have the time to do and you need to focus on your music, but not everyone is in that situation. Not everyone has a major deal or a medium or minor deal or whatever,
You're absolutely right.
And
It's
so it
different.
depends
It's
on
different for
person's
everybody.
circumstances.
It is
That's
different
right.
for
That's right.
everybody. It is, and
Mm.
but yeah, I like your method, your way of thinking. I think it's pretty good, and especially during this time of we've gone through a difficult 26 months, and we've heard the stories of many musicians who have fallen by the wayside. Not being able to tour, not being able to gig. It's been hard. It's been very, very
Yes.
hard. But you've managed because you're doing your 9 to 5 as well. So that's brilliant. So album's out. How long has it been out now? Tell us how long it's been released.
A couple of months. It's been properly in circulation since February, particularly I'd say around about the mid-February. So it's still very, very new. We did an album launch on the 22nd of January at the Toulouse-Lautrec venue in Elephant Castle, and we're actually back there on Sunday, the 24th of April. And it's a brunch time gig we're doing between 2 and 5, So it started to really get circulated about
Excellent.
mid-February.
Excellent. I want to take the opportunity to thank you for stopping by. The album
Thank you.
is out, and you need to go over to Ko's website if you need to get a copy of it. Give us the web address again, please.
Right, it's www.ciyobrown.com. That's CIYOBROWN.com.
The gentleman of jazz joins us here on the Str8up program. Thank you so much, and
Pleasure.
keep on doing what you're doing, my brother. Be encouraged. Be
Thank you.
encouraged. There will be a change coming. There will be a change coming. So keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. You
My
too.
guest here on the Str8up program, Kyle Brown. His new album's called Can We Pretend? Go and get yourself a copy. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so Grant is saying, until next time, thank you for watching. Remember that you can watch more of my programs. Stay tuned. You'll get information on how you can do that towards the end. And do subscribe and tell someone about the channel as well. Thank you. I'm out of here.